Hello, peoples of the internet. Today it is week 6 of Industrial Rallycross, and I will be driving some racing muscle cars, starting with this Moonhawk Trans Am vehicle. It didn't feel that quick off the line back there, but there was a lot of grip, and that's always a nice thing to have in a vehicle. And we're making that first corner well. This, I can feel, is going to be quite fast, especially for a rear-wheel drive, mind. Now this is a very traditional body-on-frame muscle car with a V8 and rear-wheel drive, nothing too crazy to speak of here. So it should be a fairly tried and tested vehicle, and I think we can get a good time. First lap 34, that's looking good, and that was the first lap where it's always slower. Second lap I've messed something up. I'm not sure what state my rear wheel's in. Muscle cars are generally quite tough, so it wouldn't be too surprising if I've not damaged it at all. All I can do now is just hope, though, I've not ruined my car. It seems to be driving well. It seems to be driving straight, so we can continue. It's just I pushed it too far. That was entirely my fault back then. The car was being reasonable, but I didn't seem to understand that. You can't push a rear-wheel drive car with quite a bit of power around corners at silly speeds and expect it to just take it. Here you'll see we're going well. It feels slow though. It feels like it could have more power. I don't know if it's just because it's gripping. Feels like long gear ratios perhaps on a less powerful engine, but mainly long gear ratios. And it is bouncing a little. These are very bouncy vehicles, but the way suspension manages to largely help with that. And we've set a very solid time, 30 seconds. Not the most solid time in the world, but still pretty good. So, looking at the leaderboard, I found we actually get 3rd position on the leaderboard. That's very, very good actually. And it does handle well. The description didn't lie to me for once. Hooray! Also, I can show you how this is definitely a body-on-frame vehicle. You can see that beam across there. I think there's one at the back somewhere as well, of sorts, and that's how it's a body-on-frame vehicle. It's just got that frame that holds it all together. Also, don't worry about the rear wheels. Yeah, they've been knocked loose, but the thing still drives, and it still steers amazingly. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange vehicle. Being what it is, it still doesn't handle too badly, actually. But it's never going to be quite as tight as a standard one. It just looks crazy, for something that still drives as well. On to the next vehicle. Next up we have the Gavril Bandit 400X, which is kind of a high performance version of a early 70s pony car. This, I remember, being a very nice vehicle to drive though. It's got coil springs on the rear which give it much better handling than the leaf springs of many cars. Mind, it can't touch that Moonhawk, it must be said, but it feels far less understeery. So getting it round the corners should be nowhere near as much of an issue as with that vehicle. And we are pulling decent speed through here. It feels quick in a way the Moonhawk didn't. Whether it's just because there's less grip available, I'm not sure. And I've very almost tipped my car over there. That was a scary moment. But we are onto the 2nd lap. And I've misbroke for there. I've just got to try and treat this thing with care though, because there's more power than it really should have. I can feel that. The tyres are good, but the tyres aren't the best in the world. And again, I've made another mistake. First lap was not too solid actually. I think I'm sliding too much. If I can get on to 3rd lap and take some care with it, I may be able to get a good time. But there's no way this is going to be able to match the Moonhawk, because that thing just had lovely grip. And you could really push that car through corners. You can't push this to the same level. And I've misbroke there again. But I am pulling it through. And I feel like I know the car well enough now. All I have to do is be careful. Almost did the same thing I did on the 2nd lap there. But we are making it through the corners. That must be remembered. I feel slower as well at the same time, and I'm sliding all over the place, but maybe I'll be able to pull a decent time, just flooring it now, and 32 seconds. That's not too bad. Looking at the final time we've set with this, it's not too bad actually. It's just below the S-Series exclusive and just above the Burnside rally car, which, for a car from the 70s, isn't bad. I guess the Burnside still beat it despite being an older car in age, but nonetheless, this isn't a full race car, and I feel if this had the race tyres, it really could be a full race car and it could compete with the best of this course. There's not really any damage here to speak of, so I just have to say I like the chrome design. Ooh, look at that. And the headlights shine surprisingly bright actually. I don't think they were this bright on the Moonhawk. Tail lights aren't the same. Headlights are incredibly bright though, and we need a crash to finish on. That'll do. On to the next vehicle. So, here we have an Ibishu Miramar. You may be saying, the Miramar's a small European sports car, how is this a muscle car? Well, this particular version is the 5-litre V8 race. Yep, it's got the V8 from the Moonhawk, and it actually grips incredibly well. I did some messing around with the Miramar looks, and I added the V8 and various other bits, and I couldn't get it to grip, so whatever the creator of this car has done, they've done it quite well, because the grip really isn't too bad. Don't get me wrong, it's never going to quite rival the Moonhawk it took its engine from, if it took its engine from a race version at least, because that thing is incredibly easy to drive for a high power rear wheel drive muscle car. It does feel very nice though once you get it right. I have to be careful not to take it too far, mind, because if I do that, then there'll be a huge disaster and no one will like that. So, flooring it out of here and just hoping, had to have a small lift in order to keep it under control. My wheel is all over the place, but it is somewhat putting the power down, and I've messed it up. But overall, a clean second lap. First lap's time was, I believe, quicker than the 400X thingy. And what have I done? Oh dear. Looks like we've got an open differential. It makes sense though, because an open differential is better for control, even if it's not technically the quickest. I know we're moving with one wheel in the air, so it's not open. Well, that's some differential research. And we eventually freed our Miramar. At some cost. Oh dear, I think one of the suspension components may have broken. Or maybe not, I don't know. Something somewhere may have got a bit damaged though, because it did feel a bit funny there. I don't know, maybe I've lost a tyre, but it's still got a nice differential or something, so I don't notice. Yeah, we'll go with that explanation. Whether it's true or not, we will soon find out. This lap has been fairly solid though. I'm just being careful when I put the power down. I'm not flooring it as much as I was on the first and second lap, and we're across the line. 31 seconds. Not the fastest time we've seen, but still pretty solid. So, we've just had a very strange paradox with this car. It's 0.11 seconds ahead of the ETK S-Series exclusive. And you may think I've said that name before, because I have. The Moonhawk earlier today also came just above that, and it's within a second of the time of this. So although this is just below it on the leaderboard, the things are extremely close, which is amazing because this car couldn't exist without the Moonhawk. So, you know, it's strange. I just thought I'd mention that. And it's overall a nice little vehicle. I like it more than your other muscle cars because it's not typical. Like, you don't imagine a muscle car looking like this. You can still call it a sports car, but I think all the basics are here that make it a muscle car, so that's what I'm going with. Moving on. And our final vehicle of the day is this Burnside race, which is basically the rally version we've had round before, only with a race tune. It really is that simple. Still, Gavril did need another car to compete with Brukel, so this is what we've brought along. Admittedly, there is no kind of dodge in this game, which is disappointing. But still, this is a nice vehicle to drive, it must be said. It even rivals the Brukel Moonhawk, there I say it. Although it's slightly slidier and I almost threw it into a wall there, it's definitely got a good amount of handling to it. these body-on-frame vehicles are actually really competing with the unitary ones, and I would say the body-on-frame vehicles are handling better, but if only because they're more tightly built as race cars. That probably helps. We'll see it's very firm actually. It's not floating over bumps, and it's quite low. I mean, it's still not really firm, but quite firm for a old muscle car, and I've really messed up. I just have to try and get that last corner right. Everything goes nicely until then. I've still set a 33-second time though, so this could really be in with a chance of attacking the Moonhawk's time. I say that, and I've just got to hope. It wobbles around more than I remember the Moonhawk wobbling around. That did wobble around, just not as much as this, and we've got a big power slide there, but it's okay because it's under control. And we've slid more than I would ideally like. Right, this is where we have to be careful though, and accelerate out of here and just hope. It's 33 seconds again. I would have hoped for better really. That's very similar to a rally car. Well, I have to say I'm disappointed in the car and myself. Although for an old muscle car it's not set a terrible time, it is about a second slower than the off-road version of the same vehicle. So, you know, you'd think on what's a largely tarmac course this would do fairly good, but no, it was beaten by a rally version. We have beaten the standard Burnside, so we've not thrown everything away, but I would have liked to see better from it. We've also come above the I-Series base model, so it's not a complete waste, and this is the vehicle I would recommend driving over the rally because it's set up for tarmac. You'd think it would be better here, and it grips well as well, as I mentioned before, but I would have just hoped for more speed from it, honestly. Anyway, this is all I've got for today, so goodbye until another day.